The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
Reading from the Holy Gospel according to St. John.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Jesus said to his disciples, I still have many things to say to you, but they would be too much for you now. But when the Spirit of truth comes, he will lead you to the complete truth, since he will not be speaking as from himself, but he will say only what he has learned. And he will tell you of the things to come. He will glorify me, since all he tells you will be taken from what is mine. Everything the Father has is mine. That is why I said, all he tells you will be taken from what is mine. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Please be seated. My dear brothers and sisters, the other day we were discussing about Mother Mary, and I would like to continue speaking about Mother Mary in this month of May in a special way, because Mother Mary, the topic about Mother Mary is very important for all the Catholics to know, and even the others also should know. Every Christian should be aware of the importance of Mother Mary in the Christian life. So today I'm going to speak something about the connection between the Old Testament and New Testament. As we all know, Jesus is the new Moses. Jesus is the new Moses. And what Jesus is doing here on earth, what he did on this earth, is a new Exodus. The old Exodus started from the the Egypt to the promised land. The new Exodus started from Jerusalem and to heaven. So Jesus initiated the new Exodus that is starting from Jerusalem towards heaven. Heaven is our final destination, our final promised land, the real promised land, the new Jerusalem city. So we know it from the Bible. So there are two Exodus we can see on the Old Testament Exodus and New Testament Exodus. So Jesus came to initiate this new Exodus, and with his new Passover, in comparison with the Old Testament Passover, we have a new journey. So we know there is new Passover, new promised land, new temple. Jesus himself is the new temple. And new Moses. There is a comparison between the Old Testament Moses and New Testament Moses, which I have already discussed with you some weeks ago. And we all learned a lot about Old Testament Moses and New Testament Moses. For example, I'll just briefly share what we discussed earlier. Old Testament Moses was not an Egyptian, but he was brought up in Egypt. Jesus, the New Testament Moses, Jesus, not an Egyptian, but he was also brought up in Egypt for some time. Old Testament Moses, when he was born, many children were killed. The New Testament Moses, Jesus, when he was born, many children were killed. And Old Testament Moses, and he led the Israelites from Egypt. First, he went through the water, passing through the Red Sea. He went through the water. Jesus, when he started the public ministry, he also went through the Jordan River, the baptism. And after passing through the water, Moses went to the wilderness and he was tested, and he tested God. And in the wilderness, Jesus, after the baptism, he also went to the wilderness, and there he was tested by the evil one. Moses, in the wilderness, he went to the mountaintop and fasted for 40 days. Jesus, in the wilderness, fasted for 40 days. Moses went up to the mountain, and he received the Old Testament, old law, the covenant. The old law was given. The law, the 10 commandments were given on the mountaintop. Jesus went to the mountain and he gave the new law, the Sermon on the Mount, we know. And Moses, after coming from the mountain, he selected the 12 leaders for the 12 tribes of Israel. Jesus came down from the mountain and selected the 12 apostles to lead the 12 new tribes, the new tribes of Israel. And Moses, afterwards, we read, he selected 70 elders. And we also know Jesus selected the 70 elders. And we also know Moses, when he came out from the mountain, his face was shining. And we all know on the Mount Tabor, Jesus' face was shining. And Moses, the first miracle that Moses performed, turning water into blood. The first and last miracle of Jesus, turning water into wine. Later, the last miracle, wine into blood. So we can see so many parallelism like these. So many. Jesus multiplied 5 loaves of bread for 5,000 people. Moses also brought manna from heaven and gave to the thousands of people. So there are so many comparison or parallelism that we can see. So in conclusion is this. There is Old Passover, New Passover. There is Old Testament covenant and New covenant. And there is Old Testament manna and New Testament manna. And there is Old Testament Moses and New Testament Moses, that is Jesus. Then where is the new Ark of the Covenant? So that is what we are going to reflect today. So where is the new Ark of the Covenant? We see the old Ark of the Covenant is the most important part of the Old Testament. The whole worship is centered around the Ark of the Covenant, the tabernacle. The whole worship of the Old Testament people was centered around the tabernacle. In the tabernacle, there was Ark of the Covenant, there was menorah, and there was bread of the presence. All these things are there in the tabernacle. So the whole worship is centered around the tabernacle. And in the Holy of Holies, that is one of the 3 parts of the tabernacle, the Holy of Holies, that is where the Israelites had kept the Ark of the Covenant. So the whole worship is centered around this tabernacle. And in the tabernacle, the most important thing is the Ark of the Covenant. So where is the New Testament Ark of the Covenant? So if we see the parallelism and shadows in the Old Testament, then where is it? So that is what we are going to reflect today. So first, let us learn something about the Old Testament Ark of the Covenant. What is the speciality of the Old Testament Ark of the Covenant? And then we will see where is this Ark of the Covenant today. Now, where is it? Let us take Hebrews chapter 9 verse 3 onwards. Hebrews chapter 9 verse 3 onwards. We read like this. Saint Paul is speaking about the Ark of the Covenant. And he was talking about the Ark of the Covenant in Hebrews chapter 9 verse 3. Behind the second curtain was a tent called the Holy of Holies. There, Saint Paul is talking about the tabernacle. Tabernacle is not today's. We have a tabernacle here. It's a small box, a small one. But in the Old Testament, tabernacle is huge. Inside the tabernacle, there are 3 sections. The most important section is called Holy of Holies. The second place is called Holy Place. The third place is called Outer Court. So these 3 things are 3 places that are inside the tabernacle. So that is what Saint Paul is explaining here. Let us read from Hebrews chapter 9 verse 1 onwards. Hebrews chapter 9 verse 1 onwards. Now, even the first covenant had regulations for worship, an earthly sanctuary. See, it's an earthly sanctuary. For a tent was constructed, the first one, in which were the lampstand, the table of the bread of the presence. This is called the holy place. And then verse 3. Behind the second curtain was a tent called the Holy of Holies. In it stood the golden altar of incense and the Ark of the Covenant, overlaid on all sides with gold, in which there were golden urn holding the manna. So inside the tabernacle, there are 3 things. Manna, Old Testament manna. What is the New Testament manna? Bread of life, Jesus himself. And then Aaron's rod that budded. What is this Aaron's rod that budded? Why it is budded? If you know the history, there is a reason why it's budded. Because the people were not ready to accept Aaron as the high priest. There were Levite priests, so many priests. So they all said, we are also eligible to be the high priest. How come only you are the high priest? They rebelled against Aaron and Moses. Then Moses complained to God, and then God said, let all these priests, let them bring their staff, rod, and keep it in front of the altar. And afterwards, after the prayer, let them take it back. And all those people whose rod, staff is budded, he is the original, real high priest. And then all the priests they brought their staff and kept it in front of the altar and they prayed. And afterwards, Moses took all the rods and gave it back to everyone. And when it was given to Aaron, suddenly the staff budded and there was flower in the staff. And that is why that staff is a miraculous staff. And that staff is also kept in the in the Ark of the Covenant. Let us read once again. So in it stood the golden altar of incense and the Ark of the Covenant, overlaid on all sides with gold, in which there were golden manna, Aaron's rod that budded. So Aaron is the rod that is budded is a sign of the rod that is budded is a sign of high priest. So who is the high priest in the New Testament? Jesus himself. And the third one, the tablets of the commandment. Show it together. Tablets of the covenant. Tablets of the covenant. So these three things. What is the Old Testament covenant? That is tablets of the covenant. What is the New Testament law? That is Jesus himself is the law. So three things. That is the word. The tablets means the word of God. So the three things are there in the Ark of the Covenant. Manna, Aaron's rod, and the word. So who is the new manna? Jesus. Who is the new high priest? Jesus. Who is the word that became flesh? That is Jesus. So who is holding these three? Ark of the Covenant. The ark is carrying these three things. So now, who is the one who carried Jesus in the womb for 9 months? Mother Mary. And that is why the early church history says the church fathers, that means in the 1st century and 2nd century and 3rd century, the elders and the leaders of the church, they used to address Mother Mary as the Ark of the Covenant. It is not just an emotional call, emotional attachment to Mother Mary, and therefore they called a name, but it is biblical. Because if you know Jesus is the high priest, if you know Jesus is the bread of life, and if you know Jesus is the new word that became flesh, then remember, the vessel that carried this Jesus is Mother Mary. The vessel that carried this Jesus is Mother Mary. And that is why, if you know how the Ark of the Covenant is built, then you will know the importance of the connection between Mother Mary and Jesus, Mother Mary and the Ark of the Covenant. If you know how the Ark of the Covenant is built, then you will see the connection between Mother Mary and the Ark of the Covenant. Let us read Exodus chapter 25 verse 8 onwards. Exodus chapter 25 verse 8 onwards. Let us read. Then we will see the connection between Mother Mary and the Ark of the Covenant. Exodus 25 verse 8 onwards. And have them make me a sanctuary so that I may dwell among them. God say, you have to make a Ark of the Covenant so that I may dwell among you. God with us, Emmanuel. God wants to dwell among us. Now next verse. Verse 9. In accordance with all that I show you concerning the pattern of the tabernacle and of all its furniture, so you shall make it. Next one, verse 10. We read like this, verse 10. They shall make an ark of acacia wood. What wood? God is even mentioning the name of the wood through which the ark should be made. What is acacia wood? According to Hebrew understanding, the Jewish people, those days, acacia wood is called holy wood. It is, acacia is considered as holy tree. It's a holy tree and it is a holy wood. And also, it is famous for the endurance of this, the capacity of the wood is so strong that the durable is so long, and it's expected, it is believed that it is incorruptible. This acacia wood is called incorruptible wood. It will never be corrupted, and it is holy. Now the Ark of the Covenant is, God asked Moses to make Ark of the Covenant with a holy and incorruptible wood. We all know Mother Mary is called full of holiness. And she is incorruptible. Her body is not decayed, never corrupted. Continue reading. Then, inside, and you shall overlay it with pure gold. It's not ordinary gold, completely 100% pure gold should be covering this Ark of the Covenant. You can see the hail, the full of grace. Pure gold is a symbol of pure, full of grace, inside and outside. Not only inside, but also outside. And you shall overlay it, and you shall make a molding of gold upon it all around. Next one, verse 12 we read, you shall cast 4 rings of gold for it and put them on its 4 feet, 2 rings on the one side of it and 2 rings on the other side. So you have to carry this Ark of the Covenant with 2 poles. That is also should be made with the pure gold. That means nobody should touch the Ark of the Covenant. If at all, if somebody wants to carry, let them use these gold poles and let them touch. Only the priests are allowed to touch it. No one else can touch it. And they should use the gold poles. Continue reading. Verse 13. You shall make poles of acacia wood and overlay with them with gold, and you shall put the poles into the rings on the sides of the ark by which it to carry. Verse 16. Verse 16, let's read. So you shall put into the ark the covenant that I shall give you. Inside the ark you have to put the covenant, the tablets. Next one, verse 17. Then you shall make a mercy seat of pure gold on the top of the ark of the covenant. That is called mercy seat. 2 cubits and half shall be its length, and cubit and a half its width. So my dear brothers and sisters, mercy seat. Jesus is the mercy. And Jesus was inside Mother Mary. And Mother Mary is the seat of this mercy. And next, verse 18. Verse 18. Let's read. You shall make 2 cherubim of gold. You shall make them of hammered work at the 2 ends of the mercy seat. At the top of the Ark of the Covenant, that is the mercy seat, on both sides there should be 2 cherubs, statues of angels. Cherubs means angels, cherubim. So 2 angels should be standing face to face on the seat, mercy seat. Remember, there are people who say idol statues we are not supposed to make. But God himself is asking Moses to make 2 statues and keep it on the top of the Ark of the Covenant, the most precious thing of the Israelites. And then next one, verse 19. Sorry, verse 20, let us read. Verse 20. Okay, can you read 19? 19, that is very important. Make 1 cherub at the one end and 1 cherub at the other of one piece with the mercy seat. You shall make the cherubim at its 2 ends. Next, verse 20. The cherubim shall spread out their wings above, overshadowing the mercy seat with their wings. They shall face one to another. The faces of the cherubim shall be turned toward the mercy seat. So the whole, even angels are looking at the mercy seat. They face towards the mercy seat. Next one, verse 21. You shall put the mercy seat on the top of the ark, and in the ark you shall put the covenant that I shall give you. Covenant should be inside. Verse 22. Let's read 22. We read like this. There I will meet with you. God says, in the Ark of the Covenant, God meets the human being. In the Ark of the Covenant, God meets the human being. We know the divinity of God and humanity of human beings came together in the womb of Mother Mary. There, God became human being. God, divinity and humanity of God is united in the womb of Mother Mary. God says, in the ark, I will meet with you. Above the mercy seat, I will meet with you from between the 2 cherubim that are on the ark of the covenant. I will deliver to you all my commands for the Israelites from there. All my commands will come out from the ark of the covenant. All the messages, all the covenants, everything will come forth from this ark of the covenant. If you know the history of Christianity, if you go back to the history of Christianity, now we have thousands of denominations. If you go back some years ago, there are only some three groups of Christianity, like Catholic Church and some Orthodox churches and some other churches. And if you go to 2000 years ago, then you will see only one church. Only one church, the Holy Catholic Church. Then if you go back, then you will see 12 disciples. Then if you go back, then you will see Mother Mary alone in a room. And there an angel comes and speaks to her, and she accepted the message, and then Jesus is born in that womb. From that womb, the whole Christianity started. From that womb, the commandments, the new commandments started. From that womb, the new manna started. From that womb, the new Passover started. From that womb, the new bread of the present started. From that womb, the new Exodus started. It is from the Old Testament. And my dear brothers and sisters, that is why I said it is well connected. And let us read one more incident. This Ark of the Covenant, they carried, how did the Exodus start, happened? The Levite priest, Aaron and the priest, they used to carry the Ark of the Covenant at the front. And all the Israelites used to follow the Ark of the Covenant. My dear brothers and sisters, we know Mother Mary is the New Testament Ark of the Covenant. If Mother Mary is the New Testament Ark of the Covenant, and if you want to follow God, if you want to follow Jesus, follow Mother Mary. Let her lead the church. She is leading the Holy Catholic Church in the right path. We Christians are supposed to just follow her. Just like in the Old Testament, all the Israelites were following the Ark of the Covenant. When the Ark of the Covenant stopped, they stopped. When the Ark of the Covenant started the journey, they started the journey. They just looked at the Ark of the Covenant. Ark of the Covenant looked at the wilderness. You don't need to look at the wilderness. You just look at the Ark of the Covenant. The Ark of the Covenant will look at the wilderness. At the wedding at Cana, nobody looked at what was lacking inside. But Mother Mary looked at what was lacking inside and solved the problem. My dear brothers and sisters, when you look ahead, if you see wilderness in front of you, you don't need to look at the wilderness. You enjoy your life. Let Mother Mary move forward in front of you. She will look at the wilderness. She will find the solution and she will clear the path for you. You just follow Mother Mary, the new Ark of the Covenant. And this is very important, my dear brothers and sisters. This is very important. And let us read. There is some other connection that we can see in the Old Testament and New Testament about Mother Mary, about the Ark of the Covenant. You know, once they reached, after they reached, the Israelites reached the promised land. They were settled in promised land. But Ark of the Covenant was in Shiloh, one place they made a small temple and kept the Ark of the Covenant there. But later, when David, and in between, from there, the Ark of the Covenant was, kept in front of, under the custody of Eli, one of the prophets. And then his children were disobedient. And then they took the Ark of the Covenant for a battle against the Philistines. And the Philistines captured the Ark of the Covenant because these children of Eli, they went for the war without permission of God. That is why the Ark of the Covenant was captured by the Philistines. And the Philistines kept the Ark of the Covenant in their country. Wherever they kept the Ark of the Covenant, there was famine and plague. Pandemic started spreading everywhere because the Ark of the Covenant was there illegally kept in their custody. Then the Philistines got afraid. They carried the Ark of the Covenant back and gave it back to the Israelites and said, take it back. We are fed up with this because the pandemic is spreading everywhere. And the Israelites were afraid of this. They were afraid, but they accepted the Ark of the Covenant, but they were afraid to keep it somewhere. But it was kept in one person's house. For almost 20 years, it was kept in one person's house. And later, when David became the king, the first priority he gave was he wanted to bring the Ark of the Covenant from there and establish in the temple. Inside the temple, he wanted to keep it in Jerusalem. So David, we read like this. 2 Samuel 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 2. We read like this. 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 2. We read, David and all the people with him set out and went. So they got up and went to bring up from there the ark of God, which is called by the name of the Lord of hosts, who is enthroned on the cherubim. So they set out and went from Baal, Judah. They went to the valley of Judah, somewhere close to Judah. Can you see a connection? When Mother Mary, after the Annunciation, she got up immediately and went to the Judah. Went to meet. We read like this, Gospel Luke chapter 1 verse 39. Luke 1:39, we read like this. In those days, Mary set out and went with haste to a Judean town in the hill country. Let us read what happened to David. David went to see this, and then he saw the power of the Ark of the Covenant, because Uzzah, a person called Uzzah, touched the Ark of the Covenant illegally, and instantly he was killed. He died. Looking at these, he was afraid. We read 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 9. 2 Samuel chapter 6 verse 9. David was afraid of the Lord that day. He said, how can the ark of the Lord come into my care? He exclaimed and said, how can the ark of the Lord come into my care? Can you see any connection? Luke 1:43, when Mother Mary came in the Judean town to meet Elizabeth, Elizabeth cried out loudly and said, why has this happened to me, that the mother of my Lord comes to me? David cried and said, how can the Ark of the Covenant come to me? Now, Elizabeth says, how can the mother of the Lord comes to me? Who is this mother of the Lord? Who is this Ark of the Covenant? You can see the connection here. The Ark of the Covenant in the Old Testament